Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. So today we're going to take a look at this Panasonic RX5500LE. That really is a thing of beauty. Now I've repaired an RX5025 and an RX5030 on the channel, so if you haven't seen those videos, do go and please check those out at some point. But this particular one, the 5500, really is just a thing of beauty. It's fairly huge, it's heavy, it's cool. I just love it. And this particular one is quite a rare model, to be fair, but I couldn't resist myself when the opportunity came to purchase this one. I just like the look of it, really. There's nothing at all across the top here. Everything really is featured on the front panel, which is pretty cool. And I've got to say, the Panasonic build quality from this time really was superb as well. All of the knobs and the switches and the dials all have a real lovely feel to them. There's a real resistance to everything that you turn. This still feels like new, to be honest. So I've given it a quick cursory look over when I unboxed it, and again, please go and check that video out if you like, where I actually received delivery of this and gave it an initial appraisal. But it's been sat on the shelf for a couple of weeks now, and now's the time to take a closer look at it. So I think what we'll do today is crack it open, have a look inside, see what it's made of, so to speak, give it a good clean, give it a tidy up, and we'll service the cassette deck, we'll clean the head, the capstan, the pinch roller, check the mech's moving nicely, get some new belts on there, or at least get some on order today, and yeah, just get everything going over and clean her up and get a tickety-boo again, because there's some real potential in this one. You know, they were made really well. This particular one, I think, was probably, you know, maybe sat in a back of a living room or in a kitchen somewhere, dining room even, because it's got, you know, signs of being stored, but it's not really been that well used, or not that often used, I should say. Still got the original made in Japan sticker on there. You've got the power switch warning sticker on there. The 8-section telescopic aerial is still in great condition. So yeah, I think we're going to be good to go with this one. In terms of features, it's got external microphones in left and right. You've got outputs which go from, I think, 3 ohms to 8 ohms, so quite a decent range there as well. But really cool on this as well is you've got a phono preamp, so you can plug in a record player if you want to and use this as the basis of the heart of your own stereo system. As I say, you can put it out to some bigger speakers, you can plug your record player in, and or at any external device really. It's also got the 5-pin DIN socket for record and playback, so as far as integration is concerned, it's pretty cool. You've got various features on here which will tell us about the tuning strength and recording, playback levels, all that kind of stuff. So a quick cursory look at the controls then. We've got the recording level left and right, as you can see there, and you've also got the Easymatic or auto record level function if you want. Dolby noise reduction, so this will be Dolby B, and you've got Dolby Light just there, and it says in and out rather than on or off. Bit old school. In terms of the tape, you've got type 1 or normal, you've got ferrochrome, and you've also got a full chrome facility on this as well. No metal facility, possibly a bit early and slightly high tech for this time, but still that's probably good enough for most. And then you've also got your mono, stereo and a beat proof stereo little switch on there as well. Master function switch for tape, radio and a phono stroke DIN in. And then here's your various selectors for your meter display, whether you want it to show the tuning strength, your battery strength and that kind of thing. Okay, in terms of the EQ, we've got a 2-band EQ effectively. We've got a bass control and a treble. We've also got a balance there, a single volume control and a 4-way band selector switch for AM, which has also got the auto frequency control on it as well. You've got long wave, medium wave and short wave. There we go. So that's a quick function overview there. Also the headphone out, by the way, is down there. You've got condenser mics on either side, so stereo and 4-way speakers, and although they are small, the tweeters do look like genuine little speakers. We may well catch a glimpse of those whilst we're inside. So I've plugged it in, I've put the master switch on, so let's see what happens. First we'll put radio on. Alrighty, so I'm just going to turn one of the lights off just for a moment. Yeah, because the FM signal can be quite problematic in here with these LED lights. So yes, the FM's working, the FM stereo light is on as well, so we know that the all the relative circuitry for that is going to be okay, which is great news. And also I remember when we did a cursory inspection of this one that the band switch there was working and the other wavelengths were working as well. But what we haven't really tested yet is the tape, so I'm going to put that over to, that is on tape now, and we'll just eject that. That's a lovely mechanism. Looks pretty dusty in there, a little bit dirty to be honest. Head could do with a clean, as could the pinch roller. The capstan looks pretty dirty, and it's generally a little bit dusty in there. However, we'll give it a go. I've got a fairly sacrificial tape, so it's not going to sound amazing anyway. I just want to make sure that basically everything works. So I'm going to put a tape in. Okay, and we'll press play and see what happens. Nothing is the answer to that. And eject. Let's just try it with the door open so I can see what's going on. Play. Okay, well the take up reel is sort of turning. I can see the capstan and the pinch roll turning there. So what about fast forward and rewind? Okay, alright, that'll be the auto stop. So let's just try this again. Play. Maybe it just needs a bit more volume. There we go. There'll be bluebirds over. Okay, well, two things there. One, we've got a slightly crackly volume pot, and apparently there'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover. So that's nice to know. Thank you, Robson and Jerome. What else have we got here? Play on this side. Okay, fast forward, rewind, play. Okay, so what do we know then? Basically, it's okay, I think. It's all there, it's all complete. And knob switches, buttons are all good. The aerial is good. It's got power, the amp's working, the stereo multiplexing and everything is working on there. Actually, I'm just going to try the balance as well. One moment, please. Radio, and we don't need a signal for this, but left, right, and treble. Yep, bass. There we go. Okay, so just giving a quick cursory sweep of the bass, treble, balance controls, and they're all good as well. So essentially then we just need to clean the pots, I think, especially the volume one, and give everything a decent clean, degrease as it were, a bit of a polish, get in there, lubricate the mech probably, clean the innards for the cassette, put some belts on, and hopefully that should be all it needs. So I think, as they say, without further ado, let's do it. Okay, so I think the first thing we want to do is probably get the front off on this. Now, I think that means really getting the back off, but we'll have a look. There's a few screws on the rear. There are a couple of screws on the sides as well, up near the handle. Plus, there are a few on the bottom. One, I think, probably relates to the faceplate. The other two may well be to hold the transformer in or something like that. So, we leave this one alone here because that's just for the antenna screw, and that'll be mounting the antenna into the back case, which we don't need to remove. In terms of the battery compartments, a little bit of crystalline deposits or something on there, but the battery terminals are clean, so I'm just going to get rid of that now. Right, well, let's see how we get on, shall we? So first up, one and one in the middle. Right, now, there are a couple, as I say, by the sides, so I'm going to get those out anyway. And that was basically a little machine screw that came out of the side. along with a tiny little bit of plastic swarf, so I think it's probably the first time that's ever been out. I'm now doing the same on the bottom. There we go, a slightly rustier machine screw, so we'll need to clean that up before we reassemble. However, that's all good. Plus I can also see one just by the handle here as well. Alrighty, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 long screws in the back case, 2 machine screws from the side and 1 from the bottom. And now, I still don't know if this is going to work or not. As I say, I've not got one of these apart before, so we'll learn together. And also I think now's probably the time to remove the knobs, which will need to be removed anyway, for no other reason. Then we want to give them a good soak and a clean. Right, I think these switches will stay on, so we'll leave them be. Right, eject. Now the other Panasonic units, you have to remove the cassette lid. I don't know if that's the case with these or not, so I don't want to force anything. Let's see what happens without. Okay, so it does appear that the faceplate is lifting off now, but it is restrained, I think, by the cassette door. So I'm going to just try and see if I can see how or why. Right, I've got there in the end. And basically what we've just done on this one is, if I can do it again, basically pop some tabs on the top, and then the cassette door itself comes free, which is great. So there's two locking sort of tabs, and then two sprung tabs on the top, so that can be sent away for a proper separate clean. And also look, straight away, just to polish the grime off of the inside of there. Good. So I'm guessing from that now, that gives us clearance to remove the top plate. Let me just zoom back out again. Right, here we go. Right, and what's that held on? I can feel something. Well, I think we've been lucky. There's obviously been some battery leakage in here, fairly corroded inside, or at least, yeah, we've been lucky. It's mostly the plastic. Ooh, okay, 3 ohm speakers. We'll have a look at this bit in a minute, but first I want to just see if I can get everything away here. So there's a few multi-plugs here, so in no particular order. We'll get to find out what these are later, of course. This one's for the tape heads. Right, okay, basically we're on a very short leash here, so I'm going to just put this to one side. In fact, I may not even need to remove that at all now, because looks like we can get in actually. Now we can see we've been very lucky. There's a fair bit of corrosion on the side of the mech, and that's probably why it's running as slowly as it is. Alrighty, but anyway, to remove the mech we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws I think, and we can see the 12 volt DC motor just there. So yeah, we can get to the pots to clean them really easily. Do you know what, I'm thinking I probably will remove these multi-plugs after all, for no other reason. Headphones, 1, 2. Then this is the one for the tape deck, which has to come out anyway. There we go. And obviously there's your tape heads as well. So, right. I say tape heads, that's your headphone out, I think, actually. Right, okay, anyways, so here we go. So here's the faceplate. And we've got the speaker there, as I say, a tweeter there, little genuine little tweeters, which is good. There's your condenser mics. You've got your probably what 5-inch, 6-inch speakers here, which are your 3 ohms. And yeah, as I say, there's a bit of battery corrosion down the side. We've been very lucky. We'll clean up most of that anyway. And aside from a little bit of tiny bit of zinc coating corrosion on the speaker there, I think we actually got away with that, which is always a bonus. So that leaves us with this one, and we can now see we've got the recording levels there, our various function switches, the radio selector switch, which will be via, okay, that's via one of those kind of flat ribbon actuators that goes down in through there. And we've got the volume control, your balance and your tone controls just there, your treble and bass. So really I'm only going to clean this one here, I think, which is the volume. Just run a little bit of alcohol in there and clean that. I do have a horrible habit of getting too carried away when I'm working on these things, and I can end up spending far too much time taking things apart that really needn't be, and sometimes it's easier just to let sleeping dogs lie, I think. So to that end, I think the first thing I am going to do is run that drop of alcohol into that volume pot. I can get in just about, and just a couple of drops, and working that to the full range of motion. That really should do the job, I think. Right, okay, good. So I think the next job is actually to remove the mech anyways. So we'll come in for a slightly closer look now. And as I say, we've got 4 screws, they're colour coded. So I'm guessing it are these. I'm going to do my usual trick of putting a black dot on or near. It's a bit of a habit of mine, but quite often you'll find that not all holes have a screw. But there we go, those 4 kind of rose coloured screws there, all the same, and they retain the mechanism. So that should be easy enough. Right, okay. So we've already removed the multi-plug, which contains the motor control cables. Let me have a look. Ah, okay. So there's another multi-plug down the side just there as well, and one for the heads. That's the erase head just there, and that'll be the playback heads just there. And there's probably an earth cable or something holding us back. Oh, okay. Oh, this is going to be fun. Basically, we've got one of those flat ribbon cables, and I'm imagining that is, well, that is the activator for the erase switch. And I'm guessing that must be an earth clip that came off there. So we'll put that onto the chassis for later. Right, okay, yeah, all a bit very odd. Right, I'm going to have a little look at this a minute and put this deck somewhere safe where we're not going to do any harm to anything else. Right, so I'm going to try and leave everything in situ as best I can, because all I really need to do is to remove this back plate off to access the belt here. Right, that's the longer one just there. So far the other two are the same. but that one goes right through. This one just holds the shield on, as does that one, I think. So I'm hoping, okay, this is a machine screw again. Right, short machine screw. So I'm actually going to write on there short machine, long machine, and the other two are the same. I'm just going to put a little cross. There we go. Now hopefully, there we go, that plate comes away with a lightly greased nylon roller. So we'll just clean that out. It may even be self-lubricating, but I'll clean it out and put a tiny little bit of grease on that. So that's that one. Right, so in terms of the actual belt then, flat belt, quite a big one, and it literally is driving everything. So there we go. Ah, no. That's a useful design, isn't it? That's a useful design. Find a smaller screwdriver a moment. Because it would appear that we've also got to take this plate off. Just to access the back end, or I should say the motor spindle. So just going to concentrate while I do this. Good. Okay. No other horrible noises, which is great. And that plate is away. Rightio. Good. So there's the belt then, and my word, that is a beauty. Gosh, one big flat belt, probably a 3mm, 3.5mm flat belt by, gosh, it's probably about a, I don't know, 3-inch, 4-inch. It's a beauty. Okay. I can see that the spindle is quite dirty as well. With the motor pulley, I should say. So I'll clean that. I'll clean that separately in a bit. Maybe put a drop of oil down there. Give that a decent clean and polish in a bit as well. I'm going to go and measure up this belt, I think, and get another one on order. Just check it again for tension. Not actually too bad, to be honest. Not too bad. So I might get a new one for that, I think. And then let's see what we've got just on the other side of the mech whilst we're at it then. Carefully, very carefully does it. Okay. I mean, everything else did work, didn't it? So we could go ahead and start going in there and getting all the face plates out and everything else. But to be honest with you, as I say, everything seemed to work. So my money's going to be on, I think, for this particular one, ordering up a new belt, get that on, clean the sort of tape path. We'll polish up the capstan and the pinch roller and the heads. Clean up some of this crud and corrosion from the battery on the bottom of the unit, and lubricate that just so that the eject mechanism will operate slightly more freely, hopefully, and give the case a bit of a clean, and that'll be that, I think. So we're not gonna go crazy on this one. We literally are just gonna, it was really just to have a look around, see what it's like inside, and give it a quick belt change and a polish. So we're not going to get too carried away with this. Don't think it needs much more than that. Anyway, right, I'm going to just fade away a minute and measure up this belt, and then go and get one on order real quick. Okay, well, I've just measured the belt and I'm making that around 102mm. So I think I'll go for 100mm if I can on the nose. And this one's a 3.5mm wide. Now, I think these days you can generally only really get them in 3mm and 4mm. So might have to take a bit of a punt on that. But I think the style of the bushing there on the motor will allow us to kind of centre it. And I think a 3 or a 4 should be all right. And we've also got the adjustment there for the motor speed, because if we use a slightly different size belt, it will impact on the speed of the playback slightly, but at least we know we can adjust it really easily just by tweaking that screw just there. But just before I do that, I think I might even just go and do the counter belt as well. Doesn't need doing, to be fair, but I do like to give our friends over at the belt company some information if I have it, and they don't currently have this particular model in stock in terms of belts. So I'm just gonna, whilst I'm here, see if I can access, let's just see if I can carefully access the top surface of the cassette mech. Extremely low, it's more like a friction fit screwdriver this. Extremely low magnetism, because we're quite close to the heads here, and you can always demag the head later if we need to. Anyway, that'll allow us to get that out and give that a decent clean, which will be nice when we put it back together. And straight away then, if I just zoom it in, wrong way, if I just zoom in there, we can see the mech. And yeah, I've got to say, that counter belt is absolutely perfect. Doesn't need to be replaced. However, we might as well get it away whilst we are here. At least then we've got the information. Should anybody else need to change the belts on their 5500, we can get the information. A bit tricky to get this out. Kind of just trying to keep it all in frame really, so it may be that we can get this away easily. I might just have to go and do it off camera in a while. No, there it is. Okay, just a tad fiddly to get in, but all right. Anyway, there we go. But as I say, I'll measure these belts up and I'll put a note in the description for what size I end up ordering up. And to be honest, yeah, it is slightly elliptical. It's been on there a little while, so perhaps a brand new one wouldn't go amiss anyway. Right, okie dokie. So I'll go and get those on order and then come back, clean the heads and stuff while I'm here, and then we should just be in a position to start putting things back together. Right, well, the belts are on order, so I think the first thing to do whilst we're waiting is just to give everything a bit of a clean. And I'm going to start with the heads. Not too bad. Not great either though. Certainly the capstan needs doing. Interestingly, there's no retaining washer for this, and I do wonder. Yeah, I'm going to say I did wonder whether it might be easy just to take the capstan out, take the flywheel out, get this squeaky clean. That is better, and I might actually even a bit later on put a drop of oil in there to get it spinning freely, and then obviously put some more isopropyl just to clean the oil residue off the other end once we put it through. But I probably won't do that yet, because of course we may as well wait until the belts are here and then we can assemble it all back together. But you can kind of see, possibly anyway, some of the junk that's come off already. So, you know, I think we're just going to carry on, do this for a while. I'll also do the pinch roller as well and have a general dust up, and probably even put some rubber renew on the pinch roller as well, just to try and refresh the surface of that, and generally just have a bit of a clean up. But other than that, I don't think there's a massive amount we need to do. And you want to try and cut into the rubber as best as you can. I've got the surface stuff off with a token clean, but as you start to dig in, you'll probably, forgive me keep bringing this back up to the camera really badly, but you can start to see some of the real gunk starts to come off afterwards. And you want to try and get rid of the old sort of ferrite strip, kind of brown ring on the rubber. Clean it back as best you can. You might not get it perfect, but you certainly just want to try and get the shine off it, get some nice fresh black rubber, and just try and restore it as best you can. So I'm going to keep doing this for a while. And one final cursory shot, I promise, of the muck that's come off of this. This is pretty much all come off the pinch roller, so it was desperate need of doing. But anyway, that's those done. It now has got much more of a black finish to it. It feels softer, feels more supple. So now I'm just going to try and get rid of some of the corrosion around the sides. Just give everything a bit of a clean up and lubricate the eject mechanism. See if we can loosen this spring up a little bit. And you can use penetrating sprays and oils and stuff like that, but to be honest, I'm just going to get the worst off with a file and a baby wipe, just to catch the loose stuff, because I don't want this, you can probably see it, I don't want all this loose stuff sort of falling into the mech. So anyway, I'm going to keep cleaning this up, get some oil on there, see if we can't free this up just a little bit. Also a great way to get in here and clean the inside of the mech. Kind of shows the thing up otherwise when you're finished and you've got all this dust and dirt caught behind the viewing window. Easier to get it off now. There we go. Good. Seems to be working nicely. I've also put a tiny bit of lube on the eject mechanism itself as well. Good, lovely. Now I did say I'd put just a drop or two of oil onto the motor spindle, like so, and that should free that up really nice. Not that it was hanging up or anything like that, but may as well take the opportunity to work some of that into there. Right, also not forgetting of course that we need to now polish the actual bearing surface for the belt, get some of the old belt residue off, make sure it's all clean, and obviously get rid of any potential oil residue that we just put on there from actually oiling the spindle itself. Looks pretty good to me. Fair bit of pressure being applied. Yeah, and nothing else really coming off, so that's good. Rightio then. There we are. There really isn't a lot we can do until the belts arrive, so they should be here hopefully tomorrow or the next day at the latest, and then it really is a case hopefully of just putting it all back together again. Okay, so it's about 36 hours later now, so I've made myself busy by basically cleaning the running surfaces for the belt on the flywheel here, having a general sort of clean and tidy up. I've cleaned the casing as well, at least the back casing, and given everything a bit of a dust. I've also been working on an Astro Wars. I've just rebuilt one of those, plus a couple of JVC RC545 boomboxes that needed a bit of attention, so I've stripped them down and been fixing those up. They're now gorgeous. So do check out some of my other videos as well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell for updates, and consider also perhaps even if you've enjoyed the video, maybe popping onto my Buy Me a Coffee page. The link's in the description. And I don't get monetized for this channel, it's all for the love of it. The channel's too small for getting any money from it, but if you do enjoy it and want to sort of bung a couple of quid my way towards the parts and what have you, that'd be massively appreciated. Obviously no obligation, just thought I'd mention it. So anyway, here we are. So the belts have just arrived from Deck Tech, so we'll get those open now. And here we go. So hopefully these will be the right size. I work with these guys on occasion to develop belt kits, so we should hopefully find that they are similar. So here's the old and the new belts just here, and the same for the large belts as well. Good stuff. Right then, I think we're now in a position to start thinking about gently turning this over and getting the belts all on where we want them. The first thing I'm going to do though is put the main belt on. I think I'm going to put the flywheel back through, and I was going to put a tiny drop of oil actually on the flywheel, so don't let me forget on the way through to clean any oil off the other side, but just want to put a tiniest little drop literally just there on the base of the capstan, so that the idea will be we can seat this into its rebate just there. Alrighty. And we'll get this belt on now. Just make sure there's no twists. And hopefully it will have measured up okay. Alrighty, so that feels okay. Hopefully it won't catch on anything. The new belts are marginally, like about 0.5 millimetre smaller than, larger or wider than the original, but I think that's okay. So anyways, that's that one on. Now we've got the counter belt to do in a moment, but first we'll just put this casing back on here and screw this back in, and as I say, then we'll go over, turn it over and do the counter belt. Alrighty, so that's the first one on then. Next is to put the thrust plate on. So I'm just going to clean off the residual bit of grease with a bit of alcohol just there. That's nylon anyway, so it's pretty much self-lubricating, I think. But I am just going to put the tiniest bit of grease just onto the bearing surface there. Really doesn't need much. Now we've got to remember the orientation, haven't we? So let's see if we can get this back in place. That feels good. Right, now if you remember, we did mark these because we've got different screws here, haven't we? So we've got two the same. I'm just putting these in loosely at the moment. Everything feels like it's located into place, so we should be all right. So I decided in the end it's going to be much easier just to remove this whole thing from the mech after all this time anyways. Then that allows us to obviously put everything back, because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, no correction, 8 screws to put back in. Much easier just to do it with the whole thing removed. And so we can see now that the main drive belt is now on there, and let's get the counter belt on, and then hopefully we can get the whole thing back together again and give it a bit of a test. Now it was quite tricky, and that was one of the reasons, to be honest, that I took this away from the main unit, is because it's quite a fiddly little operation, to be honest. I remember trying to get the old belt off. So I'm just gonna mess about with this for a little while, and hopefully I'll be back at some point when I've managed to poke this thing through the hole, past that tiny little gap and over the pulleys. Right, that's over the first one. Try not to get any twists in it. And then, okay, that is a bit twisted, but that'll straighten itself out. And it is definitely turning the counter. Yeah. Okay, shouldn't be too tight. Hopefully that'll be okay. Good stuff. So, next stage then is literally to get the whole thing back together again. A quick idiot check. All I've got to do now is wipe the cover plate off for the face plate, and apart from that, all systems go. Okay, the belts are on. This just needs connecting back up together. Quite tricky though, if you remember. These little clips are quite hard on here. So if you are new to these particular ribbon cables, some manufacturers on certain models use like a flat ribbon cable as a flexible actuator arm, if you like a remote actuator. This one happens to be for the erase switch just here. And yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to snap this back in now, and hopefully we'll get it in place. All right. Okay, that's snapped back into place. I'm going to very gently and gingerly locate this and connect the multi-plugs. A little bit fiddly, if I'm honest, but the problem is the tether to the erase head, the erase switch I should say, is so short that we've got to kind of do this lot after the event. There we go. And don't think there were any others. Obviously we've got the multi-plug for the speakers just here. So yeah, so I think that's it now. So now might be the time to test it out, I think. Okay, so I've just tried to hook the speakers up, but the multi-plugs don't reach anyways, so may as well just put it all back together for what it is. Not anticipating any problems, but let's give it a go. So I've just wiped the front plate here. And I'm going to do these up very gently to start with. The last thing you want to do is strip any of these little machine screws. Good. Nice. Actually, I'm just going to make sure I've polished the inside of the viewing screen for the tuner window. Let's just do that real quick, and then we'll connect the speakers up and then put the faceplate on and give it a test. Okay then, so we've got 3 connectors to put on here. One is for the microphone. One is for the speakers, and then we've got the headphone one as well. So I'm going to have to kind of do this unsighted, as it were. So I'm gently just going to rest that on there, and then I'll be back in a minute once I've wrestled this, and then all the connectors will be in place, and it should just look like that and be ready to test. Okay, so it's pretty much back together. I haven't bolted it all up yet because A, we don't know if it even works, and B, if it does, we might need to adjust the tape speed and stuff like that. So I've just put a bit of alcohol in the volume pot and worked that a few times, so that should hopefully clean that scratchy pot up a bit. And I've got some power here, so we'll just power this up. Well, good, we've got something happening, so let's just try and see if we can tune this a little bit. Alright, good stuff. Well, I'm not too worried there because obviously it's laid down here, the aerial isn't extended or anything, so we've got FM, so we know the radio is going to be alright. That's cool. So let's try the tape then. Here we go. Well, it ejects now under its own spring. If you remember before, it worked when it was upright but didn't quite have enough power because of the corrosion on the spring. So now that's good. So I'm just going to put a random bit of music in here, and oops, right way round. Press play, fingers crossed. So selector onto tape, and away we go. Good stuff. So if I now rewind it, oh, look at that rocket powered counter there, fantastic. Fast forward, yes, liking that, and play. Good stuff. Alright, so it all appears to be working alright. So I'm going to put something I'm slightly more familiar with, and I know I won't get copyright issues with. So let's just try this one. In fact, let's fast forward it. Yeah, that's working well. Then I'll just bring this into view for you a bit better actually. There we go. Rewind. Nice. And fast forward again. And play. Okay, so she's running a bit slow, so we'll just adjust that in a moment, but for now at least we know that everything's working, which is fantastic news. So yeah, just a tweak to the tape speed, and then I think we can actually get the cover plate back on. We'll give the whole thing a decent clean and a polish, and that should be that. Okay, so I'm just going to tweak the tape speed. Apologies in advance, I think my arm's probably going to be in the way, but just off to one side I'm literally holding the faceplate with the speakers because of course I need to hear what's going on with that, and I'm going to have to probably reach across with the other hand to to adjust the speed via this screw here. So hopefully we'll see what's going on, and that should play. Okay, that's slower. So that was a bit slower. There we go. Good. I'm just going to pause it because we hadn't tested that before, so we'll let it off pause, stop, and fast forward, rewind, play. Good. All right, well I'm happy with that. So you can use test tapes if you want to, and that will give you an absolutely, perfect. I'm doing this pretty much by ear at the moment, but we'll look at doing it with a test tape another time. But for now then, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to get this back together, bolt it up, give it a clean, and yeah, that we should be in for the final reveal. So here it is then, the Panasonic RX5500LE, and what a beast it is. It's an amazing looking thing, really nice. I'm really quite taken with it. It's made beautifully, it looks great, and I think it sounds the part as well. Now, when it came in, it was pretty dirty. Hadn't been abused though. I think it had just been stood for a long time and maybe not used all that much, so just needed some TLC really to bring it back to life, as it were. So I've polished and cleaned and oiled the 8-section aerial and just generally sort of cleaned the switches and stuff like that. But the radio circuits, by and large, to be fair, were pretty good. They were okay. I've also cleaned up the volume pot. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a lot better than it was, and it's definitely usable now. But the main issues really were with the cassette deck, because it wouldn't play and it was struggling to fast forward and rewind as well. Now, there are only 2 belts on this one, and a fairly hefty main belt, to be fair. It's a 4-inch flat belt. So yeah, anyway, got those on, cleaned the head, the capstan, the pinch roller, just gave everything a decent clean really, and oiled and lubricated any parts that might have needed it. Yeah, so overall just clean the cases and give it a good sort of health check, and it seems to be okay as far as I can tell. So anyway, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I think what we've got now is the radio is probably ready to go. So let's see if we can hear anything on that a moment. And here we go. Alrighty. Now the thing is with the radio, of course, is it does get affected a bit by the lights. So we'll have a quick listen without this light on, just a moment. There we go, nice. And stereo is working. Good. So we've got the FM stereo light on as well, which is great, and that's cool. So in terms of the tape then, I've got one in anyway, but I'll just eject it just to show you. We also did lubricate the slightly corroded spring mechanism on that, so that works a treat now, you can see. And I'll just press fast forward. I'll reset the counter, press fast forward, and that's working fine. Also rewind. Lovely, and you can see the Dolby light comes on as well when the tape is in use. So here we go, we'll press play. Okay, there we go then. That particular tape isn't the best. It's been chewed up and spat out a few times, as have most of the ones that we test here in the workshop. But it gives you a nice little idea, I think, that it seems to be working nicely now. So just fast forwarding it again, and we're letting that run all the way through, and we'll play it here. And you can tell the difference when you move the tape from normal to ferrochrome to chrome as well. So that's all working nicely, and we'll put it on back onto stereo. Good, so that's working all right now, and pretty good. I'm happy the meters are all working properly, everything's had a clean, and yeah, I think it sounds all right, to be fair. So I might just do is move the microphone around real quick and maybe give you a bit of a representation of how it sounds just through the speakers itself. Obviously, as I say, it does have 3 to 8 ohm outputs for external speakers as well as the phono inputs if you wanted to play your record player or anything like that through it. But I'll just swing the mic around a bit to give you a bit more of a representation of how it actually sounds. And with that, I shall bid you farewell. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. We've got loads of cool stuff on the channel and a whole bunch much more to come as well. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. As I say, this channel does not get monetized. We're only a small channel, so if you do fancy bunging me a couple of quid for towards belts and maintenance and odds and sods, odds, then I'd be much appreciated. Just go over to the buy me a coffee link in the description, or at least perhaps just give me a like on the video. That'd be amazing too. So thanks very much indeed for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Too far, so you take a stand, break you down with more demands. When it's all just a pack of lies, we're supposed to act like a big surprise.